humans are spending more and more time entranced by our artifacts, caught up in the dazzle of the digital screen. It enables us not to notice, not to feel what's really going on in the body's world.
The idea of becoming animal, you could also say becoming animal again or being animal. I think about that interrelationship, that reciprocity that's really being addressed by saying animal. So, it might be misleading because you think, we're going to, like people have come up to me after the film or before the film thinking it's going to be like literally about becoming an animal, but it's more suggestive of that animistic, reciprocal awareness, sensuous engagement with things around us.
Which is really the earth.
How can our filmmaking be part of this? It was Emma's idea. We had worked together years ago. She was an actress in a film that I did, and we became friends. She became a documentary filmmaker, and we stayed in touch for years. She came across the books of David Abram, and then a few years ago proposed doing a film together, the three of us. I mean, Emma and I make the film about David's ideas or involving David's ideas. So that's how it began. It began with a trip to Grand Teton Park where we all met. We didn't know what form the film would take exactly. That was the introduction, and it developed from there over a period of 3 years. For me, this process was particularly experimental or challenging in the sense that it was, first of all, a directorial collaboration, which means, there's two people making the decisions, coming to agreements, proposing things. And then there's a third person who works with words very intensively, ideas that you're trying to transpose into some kind of cinematic experience. So those were all new challenges for me, and it was challenging for all of us, to work through it and find the balance. And things take a lot longer, especially in editing. If I'm editing alone, I just try things and I go with them or I don't. But when there's two of you, we each have our propositions. Sometimes they're the same, but often there's variations, and you try them all, and then you discuss them all, and then you agree, and then you continue. So different.
Okay, David. If I notice a raven soaring overhead, I allow my gaze to be fixed on that feathered body for more than a few moments, following it with my focus as the bird swoops and dives. And sometimes I will feel in my muscles something of that glide. I mean, if I were just a little mind housed inside my head, then it'd be impossible to really know anything about the experience of another animal.
David, if you read his books, he's precise, but he's also very much a storyteller. We don't want to just film that art form. We wanted to make it such that whatever he's saying, we're not repeating it in the imagery. It should be a counterpoint, that he would say something that you can then interpret and read into the image language that follows. We wanted it almost to be like a voice inside the head, thinking, because he's not on camera a lot of the time, and we're seeing things and hearing these ideas. And that work became very precise, and between the three of us, a lot of discussion around honing it down. And then, Emma's voice is in it, my voice is in it, and I think it was important for us to do that because we were introducing some of our own ideas which had to do with cinema, with recording nature, with looking at nature, with this technology. And, to make it clear that this was a union of three people meeting, and to give a sense of that trialogue, I guess you would call it.
Yeah. That one's pretty. Yeah.
I guess is my microphone in the picture?
Yes.
Stand.
The film's very much about today's technology and how technology makes us see or has influenced how we relate to the natural world. And also going into these natural environment parks, they're like museums of a certain kind, and people are driving through and they have their cameras, and so do we. And I mean, this is our interaction with nature more and more. And even this film is trying to create an experience of nature, but it's an artificial experience. And that paradox is really important, just as the paradox that David addresses of the written word and how that changed our relationship to the animate world. Filmmaking does the same thing. Where are we going? Because I think what's happened with a lot of these things is that we've been distanced from feeling our interrelationship with the things that are alive that we're part of. And I think the film, on its simplest level, is just trying to point at that, but it's not offering a solution. We don't know what the solution is, but it's also not saying get rid of it all and let's start again, let's go back to nature. So it's really embracing paradox of where we are.
It's a very positive message concerning technology.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be.
It could be. I mean, you're addressing actually my biggest paradox in what I do, which I've had since very early on making films, is, on the one hand, using the technology to create a profound experience that can maybe offer some kind of enlightenment, versus just going out and being in a forest without my technology that's trying to create an experience like that. It's a love-hate relationship with the medium, but I do believe that the medium can show you things, or that the engagement with technology as a form of observation and expression, you can share and evoke and enlighten and inform. Like, there's many powers to it. And of course, it's going further and further, into places we can start to vaguely imagine what it might turn into. And that's also in the film, it's hinted at with that, short sequence towards the end where the imagery starts to become quite unconventional. You feel its technological influence, but still it has something like prismatic, that you can imagine being a reflection of another kind of consciousness or another kind of perspective, yet it's being created by a technology, and it has its links to animism, which is what David is talking about, this yearning for that primal experience. Yet there it is surfacing in technology, there it is surfacing in Hollywood films here and there that move us, that give us meaning. So I don't see it as positive or negative. It's more that's part of who we are.
And so our way of trying to get there, to recreate that experience, involves outfitting digital interfaces into every built item of our world.
Actually, it's it's like this, and it's like this, and it's very tactile. That's what they're feeling is the beauty, but it's very direct and kind of sloppy, responsive camera work, which I've always liked. But it's just funny that that's being translated into something beautiful. I go back and forth between now everybody films everything, everybody's a filmmaker, but then on the other side, what's actually kind of interesting. These tools that enable you to be recording all the time, and it's very unique, a lot of it, so there's no reason to be jaded because it's a new technology and more people are doing it. It's more, well, what do we see there? What is it showing us?
I think it's a special experience to see the film thanks to this special editing. That is my perception, of course, but I don't know, if you had a leading lines or a conception for the architecture of the world.
Both the camera and the montage are really trying to look into things and not intrude, and it's quite calm. At other times, we don't cut away for a long time, and you look at the chaos of a tree blowing in the wind and all the associated sounds, and it starts to look like a Jackson Pollock action painting or something, or some complex layered piece of music. But I think you only start to appreciate those things if you hold them long enough. Because otherwise it just becomes a shot of a tree, and then the next shot is of a mountain, and then the next shot is of water. But if you leave the tree for 3 minutes, then you start to go into it and ruminate on how it relates to the rest of the film, how it relates to you, how it relates to editing, whatever, But I mean, it's not a designed structure at the outset. Absolutely, that's all part of the process of gathering your material, finding your themes, finding a kind of narrative structure, a thesis, and plugging into that, and then it becomes in editing like a composition of music. For a long time, I've had this idea of making a film that would be an instructional film about how to make a film and be in the present. Because there's this kind of desire to use the machines, use the recording machines as a kind of transcendental tool. What I do, or what other documentarians do, is about entering a moment that is unfolding in real time and finding the transcendence in that unfolding of the situation and the recording of the situation, that it becomes this kind of exalted recording of reality, and I think that's something that I have chased after a lot. And nature, of course, is it's more than inspiring. I mean, you're enveloped in this living organism. You see it all, and it's all around you, and it's to engage in that with a camera, it can be quite cathartic, you know. And if you're at one with your instrument, like a musician would be, and walking through a space, the desire is in somehow merging with that. So maybe it sounds a bit absurd, but yeah, that's what springs to mind when you talk about desire and you bring filmmaking into it. You know? If you're trying to fuse ideas with experience, and that was kind of the beauty, the unexpected, pleasure of working with David. On the one hand, to have this sort of set of idea word things to merge with that kind of more experiential potential of film.